Yeah.
Welcome to the Wise Take DFS podcast. I am your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I am joined once again by one of Wise Take's finest DFS analysts, Mr. CamG333. You can find him on Twitter at CamG333. Cam, my man, back from the Dominican Republic. He got his little tan going. Ate some good food. The cheat sheets are back. They were back officially as of today, which was Wednesday. And the nation was very, very happy, man. They missed your cheat sheets. I kept on saying on the podcast, no cheat sheets this week till Cam gets back. And people just kept getting upset. Where are the cheat sheets? Where are the cheat sheets? Although the cheat sheets are in the Dominican Republic on a beach right now with a man Cam. How you doing, brother? Welcome back, man. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I mean, I don't even know how long it was gone, but it seems like I've been gone for quite some time, and it wasn't too long, but good to be back. But yeah, I could have made them if while I had a couple drinks too many on the beach or something like that. But I don't know if people would have been wanting to follow those. So it's probably good that we waited until today.
Oh yeah.
And now we got a 15 gamer just to get right back into it. But like we were saying, the All-Star break's coming up, so we're kind of coasting into the last couple slates here before we have that long 4-day break for us to kind of chill out after what it seems like 3 months of constant MLB.
Oh, yeah. You know, man, you're right. MLB DFS is just, I love it. It's so profitable. It's such a great sport to make money in, and I don't ever want it to stop, but at the same time, it's going to be nice to have a little break like it is. It's a grind, right? Doing the content, doing the everything. It's a grind, and not just for us, but like for the nation members. I'm sure those guys probably can use a couple day break. Don't get me wrong. After the second day, we'll be fiending out and like playing tennis and like, you know what I mean, like trying our hand,
like the showdown, like the All-Star showdown,
yeah, exactly,
like home run derby stuff.
Exactly,
like,
exactly. Betting on props or something. Like, yeah. We'll be tweaking out, but it is, you know, at this point it's kind of nice, looking forward to it. And we still got a bunch of slates, like you said. We got I got the wrong day up here. It's actually Friday. So we got Friday, right? Tomorrow we got Saturday, and we got Sunday before the break. So we got some slates here. A lot of games, 15 games. But before we talk about baseball, man, tell us how you how was your time in Dominican Republic, bro?
Good, man. So we were there, I think, for maybe our 4th day we were there or something. All of a sudden my girlfriend was like, oh my God, there's this tropical storm coming, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, this is kind of fucked. Because I was like, well, that's not good to be here if that's going to happen. But then I kept asking around, like to some of the workers and everything. And I'm like, is there going to be a tropical storm? And there's a pretty big barrier between like languages and everything. And he's like, what? And I was like, tropical storm, like hurricane, is it coming? And he was like, no, man. He just like looked at me like I was like some idiot. So I was like, I think we're good then, I guess. But it was pretty wild because like as you're sitting on the beach, like you know how when you're on the beach you can like see like just a dark like wall. Mm-hmm. Like it was pretty much like that for like the whole day on, I forgot what day it was, but it was like the tropical storm just like rolling over it, and it actually did hit the Dominican Republic, but it like went into Santo Domingo, I think it is, like the capital. It went into that, and I was in Punta Cana, so it like missed us probably by, I don't even know how much, but not very much. Like I could see it like coming in off the ocean, but it was just like raining a little bit on and off, and like it was pretty crazy though, because I was like, I don't want to be here during a tropical storm.
Cam's from Wisconsin, man. He ain't trying to deal with no tropical storm.
Yeah, I'm used to just like blizzard. I'm just used to like blizzards and shit. Like I don't mess with like hurricanes, especially on like somewhat of a little island, you know. Like not for me. I'm just trying to relax. I don't want to die on vacation, you know.
So I asked Cam how his vacation was in the Dominican Republic, and he chooses to tell us about a tropical storm that almost hit.
Dude, I mean, really, that was like probably one of like I mean, the most like eventful thing that someone who is listening outside of it would want to hear, like other than that, it was pretty much like I was sitting there drinking drinks and just soaking up the sun by the pool or the beach. So that was about it. But that was probably, other than that, it was the most eventful thing was almost getting hit by a tropical storm.
Not bad, man. Not bad. Since you've been gone, your boy Aguiar has been on a tear. He's just terrorizing the Major League Baseball. He's just terrorizing it. It's just.
I broke the Wi-Fi at the hotel because I kept voting for him on my phone. I just 32 times a day just for my dude. That guy is insane, man. He's so good.
You did it, Cam.
I've been saying it for a while because I've watched most of their games and I could tell he was gonna be a good hitter. I mean, not right away, but as the season kept going and he got consistent playing time, and now he's exceeded my expectations. It seems like every night he hits a home run, but I'm a little worried because now he's in the home run derby, and some guys get like that.
That's been terrible for people. Yeah.
And if we lose him as a hitter, we're gonna be screwed because he's like the only guy that's hitting for us right now.
Oh, literally, yeah. That's a literal statement. But we'll see. Hopefully he comes through for you. Maybe he'll get knocked out in the first round and it won't matter. You know what I mean? You
get knocked out.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, man, we got ourselves quite the slate. Pretty large. And so let's go ahead and jump right in with none other than your Milwaukee Brewers. Junior Guerra of your Milwaukee Brewers visiting Nick Kingham of those Pittsburgh Pirates. Total in this game sits at 8. Pittsburgh minus 105 at home, although they are actually the underdogs, it looks like. 88 degrees, 45% humidity in Pittsburgh. What you got, bro?
Yeah, I mean, 9-2 for Guerra, that seems way too expensive for me. I don't think I would even think about going there tomorrow. Pirates don't really project out to be like a high strikeout team or anything. Also kind of work counts and stuff. So 9-2 for me for Guerra, no way. Also, I believe he's been giving up just a ton of hard contact this year. So I would stay away from him. For the Brewers bats, I've talked about it for a while. They're a really streaky team. In the last couple games here now in Miami, they were really streaky, starting to get cold. And then now today we saw what Tyon did to them. I think he struck out 10. Did he strike out 10 today or something like that? So if you look at this lineup, I was talking to my dad about it too. It's 1 through 4, 1 through 5 now that Shaw's back in the lineup. But after that, it drops off quite a bit. So pretty easy strikeouts down at the bottom. We've seen Kingham in certain matchups have the ability to produce pretty well. I think 7-9 somewhat of a fair price for him. I don't absolutely love it. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but in the ballpark at home, he's flashed upside as well, and going up against a Brewers team that seems to kind of maybe be coasting into the All-Star break, starting to strike out a lot again. I could see him being in play tomorrow at 7-9 if I'd look into it a little bit more. For the Pirates bats, I don't really get too excited about the Pirates in general, and especially on a 15-game slate. There's not really anything I would love. I think you could maybe take a batter or two for them, just because Guerra is a guy who has been giving up hard contact for the most part consistently all year. So I'd maybe take a Marte or something, but outside of that, not gonna really get too excited. Cervelli at 3-4 makes a pretty good option at catcher as well.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all that, man. I think Kingham is in play at 7-9. I agree. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but he had a pretty good game against Milwaukee in Milwaukee, and now he's going to be at home, bigger ballpark, and he's catching the Brewers at a time where they're just striking out at an elite level. We saw Dan Straley struck a bunch of these guys out. We saw Tyon today with 10 Ks. I do like Kingham at 7-9. I agree with you that Junior Guerra is just way too expensive at 9.2. Since 2016, he's had one actual good game against the Pirates, and he had to go like over 8 innings to get it. So, not paying 9.2 for him, that's just this is ridiculous. I know that he's been decent this year. I agree with you, Cam. All year you've been saying that you felt like he's pitching way above his head, and I agree. I still think he is. Maybe he's not really too much of a blow-up prone pitcher, but the last time he faced Pittsburgh, it was in Milwaukee, but he did give up 5 earned runs. He had a terrible outing. So no Guerra, yes Kingham, and I think that I still think Aguiar is just red hot. I think you could play him and Thames. Like if you're not going to pitch Kingham, I think those two guys are fine. They're just so good. And then I agree. I think Marte's been pretty hot. He was pretty chalky today. He let a lot of people down. He's 5K on DraftKings, so I really don't think anybody's going to go there. I mean, we have so many good hitting spots. I'm not saying you have to come here, but I do think that Marte, Polanco have been pretty hot. But,
I noticed that about the slate today. Like, I was going through, I just type in the pitchers and make like a list on FanGraphs kind of quick before we go on. And I wish we could have gotten like some of the pitchers from today's slate over on this slate, because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of options that I'm like too thrilled about, honestly.
Oh yeah. There's a big slate, and like there's some pitchers that you're okay with, but there's really not a lot that you're gonna love. And right now, I did take a peek also, and Kingham is probably gonna end up being one of my favorite pitchers. That's how rough the slate actually is. I mean, Kingham's decent. Don't get me wrong, but like you never like want to take it. He's not usually a guy that's like, oh, he's my favorite guy today. Like it's not usually, you know, he's not that kind of guy, but. He's probably going to be one of my favorites because I agree. It's rough. Next up, we have Cole Hamels, the lefty from the Texas Rangers, visiting Alex Cobb of the Baltimore Orioles. Total in this game, currently 9.5. Baltimore plus 104 at home, 84 degrees, 41% humidity. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore has been a team that we've been attacking all season, but I feel like the last couple weeks at least, last month or so, kind of leaned off that a little bit, just because I feel like they have gotten a little bit better. They've gotten some guys back like Shope and Trumbo, who's been a really nice addition to that lineup. He's added a nice power piece there, and just a couple guys that are way better hitters than who they had in there beforehand. So it makes it a little less appealing. And then when you just factor in Cole's form recently here as well, Cole Hamels, sorry. I'm just not going to go there. I think maybe people might try to attack Baltimore tomorrow, but in Camden Yards, just the way he's been pitching, I mean, his last outing against Detroit, he only went 2/3 of an inning. Before that, gave up 9 hits to San Diego. And these San Diego White Sox and Detroit, Detroit's better against left-handed pitching, so I won't really factor that in too much. But San Diego and the White Sox should have been a team that earlier on in the year I think Hamels would have handled, but just the way he's been pitching recently, he might be getting a little worn out. We know he's an older pitcher, has a lot of innings on that arm, and they might be a little bit cautious with him as well, just kind of going into the All-Star break. I doubt he has a really high pitch count ceiling as well here. So for 9K, he's just too expensive for me to go to. I think you could definitely look at some of these Baltimore bats as well here. Machado obviously being the first, but I don't mind a Trumbo as well. Shope's been starting to figure things out a little bit. Valencia as well as a guy you can always take for cheap against a left-handed pitcher. And I don't mind Adam Jones in the outfield as a value option too. So I think I would lean more to the Baltimore side here than Hamels for sure. On the other side, Alex Cobb going up against Texas. I like the Texas bats as well here. Cobb's just been a guy I think we've been consistently targeting pretty much all year. Just a really high whip guy. Gives up a lot of hits, walks, home runs tend to come here and there from now, from start to start. And I could see a scenario where Texas can get to him here for sure. So I would really I'd play Chu a lot. He's probably one of the highest owned guys that I play for the most part. I like him. Mazzara, Beltre, Odor. I like Profar a lot too, but I was playing him more when he was like 3-4 rather than 4-3, and then Gallo as well. But I think definitely both sides of the plate or both bats are in play here, and definitely no pitchers for me.
Yeah, no pitchers for me either. Cole Hamels over the last 2 years has not done well in this ballpark against this team. We know Baltimore does strike out a lot less against lefties, so even though their ISOs and WOBAs this year aren't very good, these are guys that do hit lefties fairly well. Mark Trumbo, Manny Machado, Adam Jones, Tim Beckham, Valencia, Scope. Like, those are all guys that, like, they've always been, like, decent against righties, but they were guys that caused trouble for lefties, so it's a little confusing as to why they've been so bad this year. Jonathan Scope was dealing with a wrist injury, but lately he's been getting it together. He seems like really good. I know he double dong recently, hit another home run recently. He's been hitting well. 3.7 is a great price for him. These Baltimore guys are very cheap, very cheap, and I don't think Hamels is all that good, especially if he's not getting strikeouts. So in this ballpark, I think Mark Trumbo at 3.7 is just way too cheap. Scope at 3.7, way too cheap. Tim Beckham has been cheap. They raised his price a little bit. He's a guy that we know is a lot better against lefties, so this seems like a good spot, although he is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts against Hamels. He's certainly in a position to do something. Danny Valencia, we know, is a lefty specialist. Adam Jones, as bad as he's been, is a guy that normally hits lefties well. So I know they're not doing it this year, but they have in the past. And I definitely like Trumbo, Scope, and Machado. Those 3 guys for sure. But I do think that you can get a lot of good value here on the Baltimore side. And yeah, I'm with you. I'm down to pick on Cobb. The Rangers are a team that we like to take against righties. Shin-Soo Choo is great. The only problem with Choo is if he doesn't hit a home run in his first at bat, he's probably not going to hit one. I feel like that dude is always like lead off the game with a home run, and then you got your Choo homer, and whatever else happens on top is gravy. But I feel like I rarely see him hit a home run like after the first at bat. Like, it just seems like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just like a first ball, fastball, bam, home run, I got it. He was like yeah.
It's ultimate if he doesn't hit the homer the first debut.
You're done. You're mad. You're throwing your phone. You're like, I'm done. It's over. Choo, you ruined my life. Like, it's over.
You're tweeting gifts.
I'm tweeting gifts, some money lighting on fire, all that stuff.
So I got off the plane in Chicago yesterday, and I log on Twitter, and I just like, you know how it's like what you've missed? It was literally like 4 tweets of you like ripping on Glabinglio or whatever, and I was just laughing. I was like, like something's going on, because I couldn't play in the Dominican at all, so I just like log in and I just see you tilt, and I'm like, all right, we're back.
We are back. I will text CK tomorrow instead of today. That's exactly what that is.
I'm like, I'll just let him be. Like, I'll just let him
know I'm back tomorrow. It's all good. But yeah,
CK came back from vacation. Fuck you.
Life sucks, bro. Life sucks. I hate baseball DFS.
Back to the States.
Go back to the DR. You don't want to be here. It's a bad place. No, but no interest in Cole Hamels, and I do like both offenses. I like the lefties particularly just because the lefties are the better hitters outside of maybe Chirinos. But Gallo looks pretty good. Odor, Choo, Mazzara. I like all these guys. This looks like a viable game stack, man. It really does. Baltimore would be super low on because they always are. What's that?
Have you been seeing that steam too about Machado possibly going to the Brewers?
Yeah, I heard it's pretty much narrowed down to 3 teams. I heard Milwaukee's like the front runner. I heard Milwaukee, the Dodgers, and the Yankees. Those are the 3 teams that I've heard are the closest to getting him.
Which worries me. It's like New York, LA, and then Milwaukee. Like we have a shot.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys are up there for now. If he comes there, man, you never know. You know, plays in Saladino.
If he came there, that would be wild.
Would you get a Manny Machado jersey?
Yeah. Oh no, because I've been burned by that like 4 times. Who did I have? I had Segura after his first year. He was like a 22-year-old dude. He hit like 317 or something. I'm like, okay, this guy's going to be like the staple of our franchise. He's going to be here for like 10 years. I'll buy his jersey. Next year we traded him for Greinke or something, and he was gone. And I was like, okay, now I got to be really particular about that. So.
Yeah. And it's also, you have to wonder with Machado if he would be willing to resign there, if he wants to go to a bigger market. Who knows? But
Yeah,
That was a
no
good
way
answer.
he would resign, but it depends. Like, what we would, no way he would resign in Milwaukee, but it like depends what we would get for him, or what we'd have to give up. Like,
Right.
I heard talks of Santana, Keon Broxton, and Arcia, which in my opinion is nothing. Like, if
Oh
we could
yeah.
get Machado for half a year, I think that's worth it.
Oh yeah,
But
man. That's not a bad price for a rental. Not bad at all.
that would be crazy.
Would be wild. You have yourself a little sweat there for in the playoffs. You never know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you'd have a little sweat going.
Might have a shot.
Yeah, it's legit. Tanner Roark of the Washington Nationals visiting Noah Syndergaard of my New York Mets, making his return. 7.5 is the total. The Mets minus 140 at home. 80 degrees, 45% humidity, 10 mile per hour winds blowing out to left field. What do you think?
What did he have? Like blisters or something?
I know it was a finger issue. That's all I know. I mean, this would be a long time if it was just blisters. So I feel like it was maybe something a little worse.
Okay.
Because that's a long time to be out for blisters, unless you're Rich Hill. You know, that's whatever.
Yeah, I feel like exactly. If you have a chance, can you look up like some history with Rourke against the Mets, because he's been really bad this year, or not this year, but like just the past couple, probably like month or so here. And I don't know how many people will play the Mets tomorrow, but I could see a scenario where like some of these guys get going. They somewhat hit Scherzer today. I mean, a couple guys hit some bombs, and I think they were able to piece stuff together a little bit. But if you can get like Nimmo, Asdrubal, this sounds dirty to say, but Jose Bautista, Conforto, like a couple of those guys against Rourke. I mean, he's been just giving up a lot of fantasy points his past like month of starts here. And I think like, I know the Mets have this like notion of having a terrible offense, but I mean, they do have good players like Nimmo, Asdrubal, like Conforto and stuff. So I think you could get those guys probably low owned in a pretty good situation. And they're not really outrageously expensive at all. So I don't mind the spot for the Mets here, and they might be a little bit contrarian. And no Rourke for me whatsoever. Syndergaard, on the other hand, like it's definitely enough for me to fade the Nationals, but at 11K coming off an injury, I know it was only a finger, so I don't think it's that big of a deal, but he's been a guy I've kind of been avoiding, not because of the talent or anything, but he just is a guy who, for the most part, takes a lot of pitches to get through innings, and if he's coming back off an injury and like an 11K price tag, I kind of want a guy who I'm really confident in to get like 25 to 30 points, and I just don't know necessarily if I could get that in this matchup against the Nationals, so I think I'm going to have to pass on him as well.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think Syndergaard seems great on this slate. He's definitely probably the best. He's in my opinion the best actual pitcher. But like you said, coming back from injury, even if it was a finger issue, he did look good in the minors. He went 5 innings, 7 strikeouts. But they're not going to push him. There's no reason to push him here, especially if they're listening to trade offers for him and DeGrom. There's no reason to push him. So, number one, it's not a very good matchup. The Nationals against righties don't really strike out a lot. You have a lot of lefties that are pretty good. I'm not necessarily into taking too many of these guys against him, but at the same time, I'm not trying to pay 11K for a pitcher that I really need to go like 7 innings in this matchup in order to get the upside, not coming back from an injury. So I'm going to pass on Syndergaard 11K. And I'm with you on Rourke, man. Rourke has had some big games against the Mets. He's had some really good ones and really bad ones, but he has just not looked like he's in good form. And paying 8-7 for him just feels too expensive on a 15-game slate. So I'm not really into Rourke either. I think you can take a chance on some of these Mets. I personally would just rather go elsewhere. I can't stand playing the Mets. Who knows, man? Of all people to hit a home run off Scherzer, he's got BVP, but Joey Bats, of all people. And, like, his BVP is going back to the AL when Scherzer was on the Tigers and he was on the Blue Jays. Like, I mean, like, the Batista now has been, like, their hottest hitter. And it's just kind of a sad thing, man. Like, the guy couldn't find a job. And then he found a job and he got cut right away. And that's what we've come to. Is he's one of our everyday players at this point. So, it's bad. But, yeah, I agree. I don't think I want to pitch Rourke either at 8-7. I personally really don't want anything from this game. If anything, you can make a case for guys like Soto, Harper. You can make a case for those guys because if you're just assuming that Syndergaard's not going to go a full 6-7 innings, then you have the Mets bullpen, which has been horrible. So I guess from that perspective. But I think in general, I think I'd rather look elsewhere. Ryan Borucci of the Toronto Blue Jays, the lefty, visiting Rick Porcello of the Boston Red Sox. Total here is 9.5. Boston minus 210 at home. 75 degrees, 47% humidity in Beantown. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this could be like a really deep like GPP play going with Borucci here at 6K, but that's really scary in Fenway. With this team, I know Steve Pearce got hit today and left right away because I had him.
Like a
so that sucks. But if he's back tomorrow, that even makes this matchup way worse for Borucci. I think has like a 500 something WOBA versus lefties. Just been outstanding versus them, and then JD in the 3-hole. We definitely know the history with him versus lefties throughout his career, and Mookie's really scary as well. So. Really tough matchup, but just as a whole, Boston's been struggling this year, but versus lefties. But I think they're kind of getting out of that funk. But looking into this Borucci guy, I think he has good stuff, and it definitely profiles as a pitcher I would think about taking. But at Fenway, in this matchup, I definitely would favor the Boston bats over Borucci here, but it might be a scenario where he might make the list to kind of dive a little bit deeper into tomorrow just because of the lack of pitching options here. But I think you can definitely play Boston. They're just so dang expensive. Betts is 6'1", JD's 5'8". It really makes Bogarts is 5'1". It makes it really tough to get a full Boston stack in there, but that also somewhat might make it contrarian just because a lot of people won't want to do that. On the other hand, Porcello here going up against Toronto. I don't want to really pitch Porcello, I don't think. What's his price on DraftKings now? Let me look here quick. Sorry, I was trying to find him. 9.8. Yeah, so I don't get excited about Porcello at 9.8 either. He's a guy that just, I don't know, he flashes some K upside games, but in the right matchup. But I just don't think I want to go here unless if I look and he has really good history against Toronto or something. But I don't know. I think I respect Toronto bats a little bit more, like them in Fenway. So I think I would attack maybe the lefties or I would take some of the lefties for the Blue Jays rather than play Porcello, but those bats wouldn't be a top priority for me either here. You're on mute.
Good call. I think Porcello is relatively safe. He's got decent history against Toronto. Always seems to get anywhere from a 17 to a 25. I just don't think he has a ton of upside at that price. He's just not a guy. In a game where strikeouts are king, he's just not typically a guy that's going to rack up a bunch. So I think Porcello is somewhat safe. I think if you're looking for just a safety kind of play, if you're doing your lineup backwards and that's kind of how much you're left with because you were in the value bats, I guess so. But just not a big upside guy. On FanDuel, you can make a stronger case for him. Let me see what his price is. I always feel like Porcello is a little bit better on FanDuel because you do get the quality start. You get a couple things that give a little bit of a boost. But on DraftKings, where you really need the strikeouts, it's tough, especially in this ballpark. Borucci, if they were on the road, I would consider him at 6K because he is cheap and he has had some pretty big games and he's played some pretty tough opponents. Obviously, the Astros he did not fare so well against in his first game, but since then he's had some pretty decent games. Detroit's kind of sucks, so whatever. But going into the Yankees, a lefty going in and playing the Yankees, he did play them in Toronto, but still, going 7 innings, 5 strikeouts, only 1 earned run. That was pretty impressive. But Boston, like you said, they have been hitting a lot better against lefties lately. At least Mookie Betts, JD Martinez have, and they're kind of pushing the numbers there. Like Mookie today, Happ was cruising, and then he hit a grand slam, just kind of opened everything up. So Mookie is what Mookie is, which is a phenomenal player, MVP candidate without a doubt. So Because this game's in Boston, I don't know if I can play Baruki. We will do the profiling tomorrow to really break it down by pitch type, though, and check it out. I agree. Well, like I'm saying no for now because my initial answer in Boston, anybody against Boston, is no. But we will go ahead and look at that tomorrow on the strategy session for sure. And I think the Boston offense is fine. Mookie Betts, JD, Steve Pierce. We'll see if he plays. Like you said, he did get hit by a pitch and kind of left the game like a bitch. They're all expensive. They're not great against lefties. We'll have to see. But in the meantime, I think for now, I'm going to look elsewhere for everything. Mookie Betts one-off is fine, but 6-1 is just a crazy price tag. So, thug life. Domingo Germán of the New York Yankees visiting Shane the Belieber, Justin Bieber's cousin, according to Cashin DFS. So if I'm wrong, at him. Don't at me. I hate when people say that. The Twitter thing, instead of like tweet me, they'd be like, at me. They'd be like, what does that mean? Yeah. What does that mean? I found out, I don't know. But,
I don't know what that means.
No, I know what it means, but like, it just sounds horrible. Like, yo, don't at me, bro.
Oh.
It's like, don't at me.
I got you.
It's like, don't at you. You know what I'm saying?
Like, you don't know. I was like, how don't you know what that means? I was like,
I'm not that old, Cam. Goddamn. Give me
yeah,
some credit,
like,
bro. Goddamn. Ready to rule me out here,
you
man.
got some gray hair? Is that why you always wear a hat? Come on. I was like, holy shit.
I'm with it. Next up, Domingo Germán of the New York Yankees visiting Shane. Oh, I just said that. Damn it. Total here is 9.5. Cleveland plus 110. You're messing me up, Cam.
I was just gonna let you roll with it.
You just coming back from a DR and just screw me up right away. Just right in there.
Yeah.
85. What is it?
Cut me off.
85 degrees. Cleveland plus 110 at home. What do you got, man? Mess me up.
Yeah, so I mean, this game was somewhat high scoring relative to what I thought it was in like the pitchers that were going tonight. I think it was maybe like 6 to 7 to 4, 7 to 5 or something going on tonight. I think 7 to 4. Yankees put up some runs. Indians have been somewhat hot. They scored like 17 runs a couple nights ago. Jose Ramirez has just been on a tear, and Germán's been a guy who he does have really good like swinging strike stuff, but he also does just give up. He does have home run issues that might be somewhat to like the park he pitches in, but like this still isn't a great spot for him going up against Cleveland at home with a pretty stacked lineup for the Indians here. So I think at 7-4, I mean, he is somewhat intriguing, but I just don't really see like a high probability route to him getting to where I want him to be in this spot here. So I don't know. I think I would favor more of like the Indians side with a couple like one-offs, but I don't know if I would really go crazy with the full stack. The side where I would go full stack here would be the Yankees, actually. Shane Bieber, he actually was pitching pretty well at the start of the season, but his past couple outings hasn't really fooled anyone, yielding a pretty high whip to opponents, and just like I think it's kind of a case where he came into the league and people just had to figure him out, and now a lot of teams are kind of just starting to figure out his tendencies and everything, getting major league tape on him and stuff. And if I remember correctly, he doesn't like have a whole like arsenal of pitches at all. I think his fastball is maybe like low 90s or something. So I don't know if he's really going to be fooling anyone. And this Yankees team, definitely we know what they can do in the right spots. So I think this is a pretty good environment for them. And if they're able to get to Bieber early, then they get that Indians bullpen, which we all know and love. That's just been atrocious. So I think I definitely favor the Yankees bats here, and I'm not going to pitch Bieber at 8-1 by any means. And I think Germán's maybe, I think he's a deeper like tournament play, just because of his upside at that price. Although I don't really know how like much strikeout upside he has in this matchup. But yeah, I think if the Yankees can get to the bullpen and Bieber early, I think this could be a really good spot for them.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with you, man. I'm not into Bieber. I think the Yankees' offense is viable. I think that Bieber showed us some decent stuff, but some of the stuff was like matchup. Some of the stuff, like you said, was them not having enough tape, not enough scouting reports on him. But did not look good in his last game, and Yankees are going to be a tough spot. He's really bad to lefties. Like, his numbers against lefties are just alarming. I know the Yankees, like, it's the righties mostly that you like to play, but his numbers against lefty are alarming. Like 55% hard contact rate or something like that. Like, really high fly ball rates. So there's some concerns there. I do think the Yankees are in play. As far as Herman, like, the Indians are red hot right now, so I hate to say, like, I hate to even consider a pitcher against them. But one thing about Herman is he's a heavy curveball guy. Like, he throws curveballs more than any other pitch he throws. It's pretty wild. So, with that said, just looking at the profile real quick, a lot of the Indians kind of struggle against that pitch. They have higher swinging strike rates against it. We're looking at really low ISOs. Like, it's so amazing how they can hit sliders so well, but curveballs give them trouble. Like, Francisco Lindor this season against curveballs with right-handers. Oh, we're talking about 23 at-bats. But still, a .043 ISO and a 169 WOBA. Just really bad. Ramirez has to be like one of the hottest hitters on the planet right now. Looking for his numbers. I just had him up here. Man, I accidentally X'd him out. Point being, though, like, if you go through the list, like, you'll see a lot of these Indians really don't do well against the curveball. So maybe there can be a case made for Herman. We know the Indians really don't strike out a lot. But this is a pitch that they seem to struggle with. Like, some of these guys do have higher whiff rates. Like, a good amount of guys in this lineup have whiff rates in the 30s against the curveball. And a lot of low ISO. So I think Herman could be kind of a sneaky. He'll be super low owned. But at 7-4 on a slate where we don't love pitching, we may have to kind of put him in the back pocket and think about that as a low owned tournament play. But I do agree, as of right now, I would probably use that in a deeper format, like donkeys. So I'm with you.
Yeah, like that price, right? You see him at 7-4, and he does have the stuff and like the makeup of a guy who should be way more expensive than that. It's just in a tough matchup, and he just has that home runs like ability that it's tough to pull the trigger on him. But to add to your point too, like, I know this was probably in relief appearances as well, but he does have really good like history versus the Indians on a smaller sample. 20 plate appearances and only one hit out of everyone in their lineup. So .053 average. So 1 for 20, which, I mean, is always a nice little additional bonus if you're trying to talk yourself into like a risky play.
Sure. Yeah, it's not something we look at first, but it's definitely something you look at the end if you're already onto something. I mean, at his price, he put up a 17 against the Blue Jays in his last game. If you got a 17 from him here, he's not killing you. He's doing fine. You're okay with that. And, we already know that pitching is going to be kind of tougher on this slate. So I think Herman is in play, and I think that nobody else is going to play him, especially not after watching the Yankees beat up Kluber. I'm sorry, watching the Indians beat up Severino. But, Severino's a better pitcher. I'm not knocking him. It's just a pitch type thing. Like, the Indians can hit the slider. They can't really hit the curveball. So, just food for thought. Next up, Jake Arrieta of those Philadelphia Phillies visiting Wai-Yin Chen of the Miami Marlins. Total here is 8. Miami plus 125 at home, 88 degrees, 60% humidity. We'll see if they open up the roof. They've tried that a couple times lately, but they'll probably close it because they normally do. What do you think?
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, Chen's 4.8. He'll definitely like allow you to get a lot of bats in that you would want, and I mean, just like at a quick glance, if you look at the home road splits, I mean, it's pretty significant. Like, he has a 1.89 home ERA and a 10 ERA on the road, which makes sense if you kind of factor in like the ballpark and everything. So, I mean, I could see a scenario where if you're just trying to punt at pitcher just because you don't like a lot of options, you're just kind of hoping for maybe a 10 to 12 point outing for him and kind of just win it with your bats. It's kind of disgusting to say, but I could see like a scenario where someone would do that in their lineup. I wouldn't like cross it out right now. Arrieta's just too expensive for me at 9K to go there against the Marlins. I'm not really like all too scared of the Marlins. I don't think they're going to put up a ton of runs against Arrieta, but I don't think they're going to like yield a whole bunch of strikeouts, especially the way Arrieta pitches and everything. So there's just no upside for him in this matchup. At the same time, I don't think I would really take bats against Arrieta in this ballpark on a 15-game slate. I just don't think that would work out well. So I think maybe just like punt at pitcher if you want to go that route with Chen, just with some of the success he's had. I'm at home this year in Marlins Park, but yeah, I think honestly that's it for this game. I don't love a lot here. I think you can obviously take like Hoskins against Chen or like a Carlos Santana, Aaron Altherr, or like a Jorge Alfaro punt catcher option. Any righty against Chen is pretty optimal, but it's just kind of a GPP bullet if you want to try and get weird and punt at pitcher and win it with your bats or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's viable. I've pitched Chen more times than I'm willing to admit, and I've said he wasn't playing even more times. But at 4-8, same kind of thing. Like, I don't think that we go there first, but I think if you are, if you are in a pinch and you really want to save money for an SP2, like I wouldn't play him on FanDuel, obviously, but on DraftKings, if you're really, really hurting for an SP2, at 4-8, it's not the worst idea. The Phillies do kind of strike out a little bit, and they've been cooling it down a little. I will say that, like you said, Rhys Hoskins, Carlos Santana, Altherr, certainly all great options if you want to go that route, but this is a huge slate. If they open up the roof, maybe Philly becomes a more viable stack, but with the roof closed, it's just a really big ballpark, which is why Chen's ERA has remained low. So I don't love Chen. I just think he's okay if you really needed the salary. I don't think we're going to need the salary because I really don't like any of the pitchers up top, but certainly an option. And then Arrieta is just kind of too expensive. I know he had a great game against the Pirates. It kind of worked out well. He went deep, got some strikeouts. But we know that he's not a big strikeout guy. In Miami, it's just so pesky, man. They really just don't strike out as much as their numbers indicate they do. I think that Derek Dietrich, and if Realmuto is back, Realmuto has been hitting sinkers pretty well this year. He's somebody I can see having a pretty good game against Arrieta. But other than that, this game in general for me is probably a scratch-off. Really, really not a ton I like from this game outside of maybe Rhys Hoskins. Zach Godley of the Arizona Diamondbacks visiting Anibal Sanchez of the Atlanta Braves. Total here is 8.5. Atlanta minus 140 at home, 83 degrees, 70% humidity. What do you think?
Wow, dude, my Brewers have been brutal. They gave up a 30-point outing to Anibal Sanchez when I was on vacation.
Yes.
That's fucking bad.
But you were glad you missed that
one. Very glad I missed that one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really want to pitch Anibal Sanchez here against the Diamondbacks. I mean, I think the D-backs have a really good lineup now that they're healthy. One that I don't really want to attack, and I would consider Sanchez, I think, if he was under 7K, but at almost around 8K, 7.8K on DraftKings. I just don't really see a scenario where I want to attack this Diamondbacks team. I think there's a couple other spots around that price range where I would want to go. So for me, I would just pass. I think you could take like 2 through 6, 2 through 7 for the D-backs maybe as one-offs. I don't think I would go crazy and do like a complete stack against him. I would try to kind of pick off maybe a bat or two here for the D-backs. And on the other side, Godley here going up against Atlanta, like, just not a spot. I haven't pitched Godley really at all this year. Reverse splits guy, so might be a favorite, like a better matchup for him in terms of just like more lefties in the lineup. But for me, it's just not going to be a spot. I think I'm going to go even at like a 7-7 price tag for him. Probably going to avoid the Atlanta bats though as well for the most part, honestly. You're muted.
Damn it. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want to pitch Godley at 7-7. Not enough strikeout upside for that price. Plus, like you said, Godley really hasn't looked all that great this season. Anibal Sanchez, interesting because we know he's obviously has upside this year, and he's not really getting hit hard, but there's just too many lefties in that Diamondbacks offense. And while Anibal Sanchez hasn't been all that bad to lefties, it's more about the park. It's just a great park for lefties. So I don't know how many D-backs I'm actually going to want to play. This is their first game out of Coors, so if you're into the Coors narrative, the Coors hangover narrative, maybe you can throw Anibal. I think Anibal is an option. I think he's in play. But I do agree that this lineup healthy is kind of scary. Guys like AJ Pollock, Paul Goldschmidt, Jake Lamb, Peralta. There's definitely some guys you don't necessarily want to attack. But I think the Braves offense is in play. They did finally wake up against Caviglio. Freddie Freeman and Albies are pretty much the only guys you ever want to play. That's kind of the problem. But they're an option. And I think Anibal maybe on Anibal. But he is coming off of a really good game. So law of averages tells you, unless all of a sudden he's just a great pitcher, although he has looked really good since coming back. So we'll see. Anibal's a maybe. Braves in play. And if you're not in Anibal, I don't mind the D-backs because the stadium is so good for lefties. Next up, Brad Keller of the Kansas City Royals visiting big game James Shields from the Chicago White Sox. Total here is 9. The White Sox minus 116 at home. 85 degrees, 55% humidity out in Chi-Town, the future home of CamG333. What's up, bro?
Yeah, not going to be living where the White Sox play, but be living where the Cubs play. I don't know. Like, this Keller guy, I honestly don't really know a whole lot about him, but just kind of looking into him, like a ground ball pitcher who doesn't really strike out anyone. At 6'4", I think you could possibly make a case for him just because he profiles decent, being the fact that he's like a ground ball. What is Patio Joe saying? He just texted me something about being off HGH or something. So he has an 8% swing strike rate, but he's a huge ground ball pitcher and obviously like a pretty decent matchup going up against the White Sox at 6'4". He's flashed upside when he's had the ability to pitch deep into games in certain matchups. Against LA, he put up a 30. Against Seattle, he put up a 20. Had a tough outing against Boston, but that's pretty expected. Tough outing against Houston as well. So I think in the right matchup, he probably has like decent upside here against the White Sox. So at 6'4", I think I could consider him. I wouldn't like expect a huge strikeout outing or anything from him by any means, but just like the fact that he profiles nice with like a ground ball pitcher and everything. At 6'4", the price is right for me there. On the other hand, James Shields going up against Kansas City. This is tough. Maybe people are gonna want to like full stack Kansas City, but for me, it would just be more of like a one-off play here of like Moose or Sal Perez. I don't really want to go crazy elsewhere. Other than that, Shields has been not nearly as bad as he has been like near the end of last year, and I just think they're gonna probably garner more ownership than I think they should. So I'll pass here on the Royals.
So Patio Joe he texted me and told me what he told you, and what he said to you was, I said he looks older and that he took a cycle of HGH. That's what Patio Joe said. Shout out to Joey. Keller, 6'4" seems expensive. I understand it's a good matchup. He is a soft contact ground ball kind of guy. The White Sox should give him a couple strikeouts. So it's a maybe, but I think the price is kind of too high. Not really interested in pitching James Shields. I know that the Royals are really bad, but they have been kind of waking up. Moustakas double dong yesterday. Sal Perez hit a home run as well. They've been starting to get a little more on the pesky side. I think that James Shields is not very good. So even though he can do the troll job, it seems like really only the good teams that he trolls you against. The bad teams he seems to kind of struggle against a lot of the time. So I don't think I want too much from this game. Maybe a Moustakas, maybe a Perez. I don't even mind a Duda for really cheap. But for the most part, I got to dig in on Keller. I just feel like 6'4" is too much of a price increase. I don't like to take pitchers when their price dramatically increases. Like, it bothers me. Like, it's the mantra buy low, sell high. Like,
Right.
It's like, it's too true. Like if a guy has a couple good games and all, and then his salary goes up like $2,000, it's like, okay, hold up now. You know what I'm saying? Like the value is just gone. You feel like a sucker when you get in late. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things where like I don't know what it is, but for me, I literally just like can't play a guy even if I had like if I wasn't on him for like the first like couple starts, I can't like jump on him after because I've done it a couple times and they always end up just like sucking, and it's like, well, I was off him the first 2 times. Why did I play him the third time? Now he sucks. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But I like that price at 3.7 for Sal Perez.
That's a really good price for him. Yeah. There's definitely some value on the Royals because they have sucked ass, but they've been a little bit better lately. Yeah. On the sneaks, not really. They weren't even on the slate, I don't think, when they were going off yesterday. Mike Fiers of the Detroit Tigers visiting Dallas Keuchel of the Houston Astros. Total here is 8.5. Houston minus 260 at home. 90 degrees, 57% humidity. They'll probably close the roof because they usually do when it's hot. What do you got here?
Yeah, so I'm not going to pitch Keuchel in this matchup going up against Detroit. For me, like, for the most part, I feel like he has to kind of be perfect to get like a 25. So I just kind of avoid Keuchel. And this matchup against Detroit, like, they're pretty decent against left-handed pitching. Nick Castellanos, like, they have those 2 catchers in Hicks and McCann that kind of specialize in hitting lefties, and then a couple decent other guys like Goodrum and Candelario that are pretty decent hitters as well. So I don't mind it here. Matuk can hit lefties as well, but I like the only guy I would really consider playing would be Castellanos for me. The dude has just been playing really well here last couple weeks. Might have cooled down, but before I left for vacation, he was like batting like 400 with like 8 home runs in like a span of like 10 games or something. It was pretty crazy, but I like him a lot tomorrow. I think this is a good spot for him. On the other hand, this is interesting. Fiers is going back to Houston. I don't know if he's pitched in Houston since he got caught or whatever, traded, but he's kind of in the same scenario as Shields has been in. I feel like a lot of people have this notion that he's a guy that you want to stack against, when I think more realistically, Fiers is a guy who you might want to just try to pick off like a home run or 2 against outside of like a full stack. I think he's more of like a guy to give up runs based off of like the home run ball rather than yielding just a bunch of hits and really allowing like the full potential of a stack. So I would maybe try and just pick off a home run or 2 here for Houston. But outside of that, I think it's Castellanos. I don't have interest in Fiers really, although I will acknowledge he's been pretty decent. I just don't think I can pull the trigger on him in Houston against this Houston team, and I would just maybe pick off a bat here for the Astros. Who you think's going to homer?
Yeah, I agree. The Astros have been very disappointing from a DFS standpoint. They just haven't demonstrated a lot of power this year. Obviously, like they're capable of it. Once in a while, they will. But for the most part, they've pretty much been disappointing in terms of DFS. It's been like 1 or 2 guys doing it. Mostly Bregman this year, or a lot of Bregman lately. Maybe Altuve gets in the mix, but like it's rare that the whole team kind of works out. And that's just disappointing. Even when they score, they haven't really done it from a home run perspective. You'll have like Evan Gattis hitting 2 home runs or Bregman hitting 2 home runs. But it hasn't been the case that we haven't seen a lot of like, okay, 4 guys hit home runs today. It just hasn't happened. Their ISO as a team is just down in general. This is a good situation, sort of. Mike Fiers has looked pretty good his last 3 games. I'll give him that. But we know that Houston's better against righties. It's just kind of tough to go there. The power just hasn't been there. But I agree. I think I prefer to just kind of pick out a couple home runs if I can. Of course, this is a huge slate. We have a lot of good spots, so maybe we just ignore it. And I'm with you on Keuchel. I think Keuchel at 8.4, it's tempting, but the Tigers are just a team that's so right-handed. I just don't like taking lefties against them. Against lefties, they really don't strike out as much, and Keuchel hasn't demonstrated the same K upside this year that he has over the last couple of years. So I think Castellanos is a fine one-off, like you said. I think that the rest of these Tigers are kind of tough to roster. James McCann, of all people, he's having kind of a bad year in my opinion, but he's 3 for 6 with a homer. Nick Castellanos is 5 for 14 with a homer. I don't think I want to pitch Keuchel at 8-4. I really don't. Next up, Nathan Eovaldi of the Tampa Bay Rays visiting Jake Odorizzi of the Minnesota Twins. Total here is 8.5. Minnesota plus 105. At home, 84 degrees, 54% humidity. Eovaldi coming off of what's got to be the game of his life against the Mets. What do you think here?
Why do you only throw 79 pitches?
I don't know, man. He could have gone the whole game. He really could have. I mean,
that's so weird. Yeah, I think I was on vacation when he did that. I remember seeing like an update or something that he had like a complete game shutout.
He had a perfect game going.
Maybe, yeah, that's really weird. But I mean, 33 and 37 in 2 of his last 3 outings. Going at Minnesota, I mean, I don't usually target Minnesota with righties when they're at home here, but I mean, you could argue that the form that Eovaldi's in, he's definitely playable at 8-5 with the way he's been pitching. So I don't think I would really have a problem with that going up against this Twins team. They're a little less dangerous, I think, than they were last year. Just from head to toe. I mean, I don't know when Miguel Sano is going to even be back. So looking at
they just sent him to the minors, man. I don't even think he's hurt. They just designated him and that's it.
Yeah, they sent him down to like Florida like a month ago to like do something, and he still isn't back. So who knows with that guy? But he was always like a concern when you were attacking the Twins here, and the only guy like looking at it that I'm really concerned about for him would be Eddie Rosario and Eduardo Escobar here. Outside of that, I think he could pretty much handle anyone in this lineup. So I think 8-5 is a pretty fair price for him, and probably one of the better options, I think, on the slate. But it's a scenario where you just talked about. I haven't really been playing him all that much, and I definitely didn't play him the last time he pitched because I wasn't even playing. So it's like a scenario where I don't know if I really want to like hop on now at 8-5 when he was playable at like 6 something a couple weeks ago, and I could have got that 33-point game out of him at 6K. I just feel kind of dirty jumping on him now, but I think he's a pretty good option. Odorizzi here going up against the Rays. I think I would actually maybe have a little bit of interest in some of the Rays bats actually going up against Odorizzi. I've stacked against Odorizzi a couple times this year in spots where I think he can give up a couple home runs here and there. And I think this might be a spot where the Rays could get to him. They get a pretty nice ballpark boost here going from Tampa to Minnesota, and I think you could definitely take a shot on some of the lefties and maybe even like a righty in Ramos or something here. Just a guy who gives up a lot of fly balls and pretty decent hard contact as well. So I actually don't mind some of these Rays, and I could see where they would be pretty contrarian, but like Kiermaier, Bowers, Ramos, I think would be the 3 I would definitely take a hard look at tomorrow when I'm making my lineups.
Yeah, I agree. The Rays are definitely a team that we prefer at home. They do definitely have a higher WRC plus, but they're always low owned. On the road, they're a little worse. I think we can consider Odorizzi, but at the same time, I think that a few of these Rays, such as CJ Cron, Wilson Ramos, Kiermaier, and Bowers, are in consideration. They do just seem to kind of struggle on the road. As far as Eovaldi, I'm with you. I feel like I missed the boat. There's a lot of lefties here. I think Eovaldi can do fine, but even though the Twins are not having a great season, they're still not the Mets, right? Like they're not that bad. They're not like Mets offense bad. Eduardo Escobar is a guy who has hit very hard fastballs well this year. He's somebody that we can consider at 4K. Robbie Grossman, surprisingly, in a small sample, is somebody who has handled really, really hard fastballs well this season. So I think there's a couple guys we can look at on the Twins. If you look at the BVP, you're probably wasting your time. Eovaldi hasn't seen these guys in 2 years, and back then he was averaging like 94, 95 on his fastball. He's averaging 97 nowadays. So I would throw the BVP out the window and kind of start from scratch on the profiling. Eovaldi's fine. I'm not, I don't want people to hate me because I say don't play Eovaldi. I think he's okay. I just think, number one, I don't like the fact that he hasn't really thrown that many pitches in these starts. That kind of limits his upside. And number two, this is not the Mets. He's going to see a lot of lefties that are actually decent, and the Twins really don't strike out as much against righties. So, yeah, again, I think some of these Twin bats are okay. I'm not playing Eovaldi, although I think he's fine. And Odorizzi is a maybe, but if you're not playing Odorizzi, I do think that Ramos, Cron, and Kiermaier are certainly viable here. Matt Harvey of the Cincinnati Reds visiting Carlos Martinez of the St. Louis Cardinals. Total here is 8.5. St. Louis minus 162 at home. 95 degrees, 44% humidity in St. Louis. What do you think, Cam?
How Matt Harvey has risen. That's pretty crazy, man. 7-2 now on DraftKings. I remember maybe like a month ago I was playing him at like 4K or something. 3.5K or 3.2K increase on price. Pretty wild, but he might be pitching here for like a spot to be traded to like a contender. I don't even know. I feel like I've seen some rumblings and some trade talks for him, which would be absolutely insane here. But this is a really interesting spot, I think, for some of these Cardinals bats. It's 95 degrees tomorrow in St. Louis. I kind of like that. In this ballpark, it usually turns into more of a hitter's ballpark when it's really hot and humid there. So I don't know. I mean, Harvey's been pretty good, though. I think he's like actually trying to pitch now that he's out of New York, and we've seen like an increase on his fastball velocity his last like 3 or 4 starts here, and a pretty right-handed heavy matchup for him here as well. So it's kind of interesting. I think both sides of this game are in play, and I think I would have to dive a little bit deeper into both of these guys, because this, depending on what lineup like the Cardinals roll out, I'm not sure. This projected one right now, it looks like they have like 5-6 righties. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe went like 5 lefties, make it a little bit harder for Harvey. But I think in the right matchup, maybe Harvey becomes in play. But I could also see a scenario where the Cardinals roll out like a left-handed heavy lineup, get me off Harvey, and maybe even some of these Cardinals bats. But I think like Matt Carpenter is definitely like a pretty good play tomorrow, and it's one of those games where I kind of have interest in both sides, honestly. On the other side, Carlos Martinez, we saw him struggling a little bit before, maybe like a month ago, 4 starts ago, and he's really started to kind of get it together again. Found his command, limiting those walks that we were kind of worried about. Put up 25, 22, and 20 in his last 3 outings. Now he's going to go home and pitch against this Cincinnati team who he's had okay success again against. It kind of looks, actually, if you look at the BVP, he kind of just pitches completely around Votto here. Votto's batting 136 against him, but he has 14 walks. So that kind of takes Votto completely out of play for me at 4-4. If they're going to just pitch around him, I don't have any interest in that at the first base position. But I don't know, 8-1 for him is kind of intriguing for me, So I don't know. I think he's in play, but I'd have to look into it a little bit more. And probably would favor C-Mart here over the Reds bats.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to pick on C-Mart right now. Even when he doesn't do well, it's typically with walks. It's not really like a stack 'em kind of spot. It's normally like, okay, so one guy has like a grand slam because he'll walk 3 guys. But at 8-1, he's looked a lot better lately. He's had some mega games against the Reds. The Reds don't typically strike out a lot, but they have been striking out a little bit more lately. We saw that like Bauer. I mean, Bauer's great, but like we saw some guys strike them out, a good amount over there. So I think that C-Mart is a maybe at 8-1. That's, it doesn't really excite me, but I think Matt Harvey at 7-2 is also in play. I think He's cheaper, and he's got a lot of righties. Harvey's actually been decent against righties. It's really the lefties that have given him a hard time, even when he was with the Mets. So Matt Carpenter, Fowler, those guys can give him a hard time. But if we see a predominantly right-handed lineup, which we normally do from the Cardinals, I do think we can take a look. Like you said, man, since getting traded, all of a sudden he's trying again. He gained velocity on his fastball. He's looked good. Against your Brewers, man, like if it didn't rain, he would have gone for like 40 that day. He was like 5 in the third, had like 6-7 Ks, and he only threw 68 pitches. He came out because it rained and he never went back in. So the upsides there, the Cardinals are a team that can strike out in the right matchup against a decent right-handed pitcher. We saw they struck out a lot against Rodon. Of course, that was a lefty. But Matt Harvey's a maybe. C-Mart's a maybe. I know it's going to be hot, and that's what kind of like worries me about the bats. It's going to be very hot in St. Louis, so the ball might carry a little bit more. But at the same time, when you look at these bats, there's not a ton of guys you really want to play. Maybe like a Carpenter, Tommy Pham, sure. I guess Scott Schebler, he's been pretty hot. But for the most part, I'm just not really trying to pick on Matt Harvey right now. As weird as that is, like he's just been decent. So I think both pitchers are a maybe. Christian Bergman of the Seattle Mariners visiting Antonio Senzatella of the Colorado Rockies. We don't have a spread or a total just yet for this game. 78 degrees, 40% humidity, so the temperature did drop out in Denver. What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, I didn't even know that Bergman was pitching because I pulled up DraftKings and they had Paxton there, so I knew Paxton wasn't pitching, but I didn't know who was pitching for them. But yeah, I mean, another Coors slate kind of sucks. Kind of hate. I hate like slates with Coors on it. It kind of just makes it less fun for me, just because I feel like all the ownership's there, and like I don't know, especially when you have the two pitchers like this on the mound, I feel like it could kind of just skew everything and make it not fun. But we'll see. I don't know this. Senza guy, I don't know whatever his name is. I don't know if I have a whole lot of confidence in him. Pitched really well at home his first start against San Francisco, but then kind of got demolished against the Mariners in Seattle, and now he has to go and pitch against them at Coors here. Probably not a really optimal spot. Can definitely play all the Seattle bats here. I mean, like 1 through 6, I think I would have the most interest in. But I mean, Herman at 3-1 at catcher is not a terrible play as well. On the other side for the Rockies, I mean, it's the Rockies at home. You can always stack them. I didn't know what's his name was pitching, so I'll let you talk about him a little bit more, just because I don't really have anything pulled up on him.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, it's hard not to like the Seattle Mariners after they just beat the shit out of this guy in Seattle. Now they're going to see him in Coors. Yeah. So Seattle probably kind of more of an obvious kind of thing. They look good. We'll have to see what the profiles look like tomorrow. As far as Bergman, so he pitched one game this year. It was back on May 16th. He went 7 innings, 5 strikeouts against the Rangers. Put up a 24 on DraftKings. Going back to last year, however, he was mostly a bullpen guy. Did have a few starts, had some decent games, like put up a 19 against Boston, a 20 against Tampa Bay. This is going to be one that we have to do some profiling on. I don't know a ton. I'm trying to dig in to see what exactly he throws. It looks like he's a sinker baller. 44.4% sinkers. That could be trouble. We know the sinker is a pitch that doesn't really work well in Coors. It doesn't look like he was always a sinker baller. It looked like he used to throw a 4-seam. But the sinker is a pitch that he threw a little bit going back to last year. But he's really thrown a lot this year specifically. 44.4% of the time. So that could be trouble. Looks like mostly sinker and changeup is what this guy throws. That could be trouble in Coors. Maybe we can consider the Rockies. I mean, it's Coors. You guys know what to do. The temperature has dropped. Keep that in mind, though. Tyler Chatwood of the Chicago Cubs visiting Clayton Richard of the San Diego Padres. Total here is 8 San Diego. Plus 110 at home. 76 degrees, 68% humidity. Cam, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that dude's sinker right now, and it doesn't look like it really moves a whole lot to begin with. So it honestly might just turn into like a straight fastball, which could get really ugly. So yeah, what game are we looking at here? Oh, yeah, I was looking at this game before. So I actually don't mind Richard at 5-6 here going up against the Cubs. Depends what lineup the Cubs roll out for me. I mean, like obviously they can get left-handed heavy, and I don't like. I mean, I don't really get scared of like a lot of the switch hitters. So like if they have um like Ian Happ batting from the right side, I usually prefer Happ from the left side here for like his power purposes and stuff. But San Diego, I know Richards like hasn't been very good his past couple starts. Thanks to Twitter and thanks to you and your gifts and stuff, I think. But
Yes, you're welcome.
but I think at 5-6, I would be willing to take a shot on him just because I think everything's pretty consistent. Like he's still an extreme ground ball pitcher. I think he's going to be able to handle some of the big bats in this lineup, like Rizzo and Schwarber, pretty easily. Um, and just like a guy who's a really high ground ball pitcher going up against the Cubs here, who a lot of the bats that I'm scared of are lefties, or they might not even be in this lineup. So I think at 5-6, I'd be willing to take a chance on him. And then Tyler Chatwood going up against San Diego. I don't have any interest in Chatwood at all. I think you can definitely go to some of these San Diego bats. I would look at like Myers and Hosmer for sure. Would be the two guys I would mainly target. And if you're, I'm not really sure like what pitchers you would be really paying up for, but if you wanted to like double pay up for um, two pitchers, I wouldn't like hate like a full Padres stack and just kind of hope they can really get to Chatwood here. And at the prices, like you don't really need them to do a whole lot.
Yeah, with the Padres, it's come down to like, if you're gonna stack the Padres, then you just have to hedge every time. So like if you're doing two lineups, if the Padres are for some reason your favorite stack, just do a second lineup and throw the pitcher against them just in case. Because that's just how they've been, right? Like they can sit there and they can do it, or they'll make whatever pitcher they're facing look like a god. Like Tyler Chatwood had to have been the best game in his life against the Padres last year. Put up a 33 on DraftKings, 8 innings, 8 Ks. The Padres have that kind of potential. I will say that Will Myers has been red hot. I do think this guy, Aswahe, as Paulie D taught me how to say his name earlier, is a decent value option. So, like, my instinct is, like, I don't want to play Chatwood because he's been awful this year. And I do believe that he has been, I do think he's just not a good pitcher. At the same time, as much as I think we could take some Padres, because they're so bad offensively, you can make a case for Chatwood at 6-2. But as for Clayton Richard, I do actually have, like, I think he's acceptable. 5-6, the Cubs have been a little worse against lefties. Chris Bryant's back. He had a home run right away. So that's a little concerning, but great ballpark. He's only 5'6", so he's not going to kill you unless he gets like below double digits. And in consideration, is he my favorite pitcher? No. Does he have a lot of upside? Not really, but it's acceptable. The Cubs have kind of struggled a little bit more against lefties lately. Felix Pena of the Los Angeles Angels visiting Walker Buehler of Patio Joe's Los Angeles Dodgers. Total here is 8. The Dodgers minus 165 at home. 84 degrees, 41% humidity out in LA. This kid Pena coming off of a dominant performance, only through 76 pitches, but he's coming off a performance where he really did really well against these Dodgers, who are once again struggling against the slider. Tyson Rosswood out there pitched a pretty good game against them. These Dodgers, man, when you look at the numbers, they can crush sliders, but at the same time, if it's a good slider, they have extremely high whiff rates, and they can strike out a lot against sliders.
I saw that today, like researching, like a lot of them had like really high hard contact or like ISO versus it, but like their whiff rates were like 30, 40, 50% versus it. So that's interesting. But I mean, I think you could go back here against Pena, like hope that the Dodgers can bounce back, get to him. Looks like he's a guy who gives up hard contact and everything versus lefties, but it's kind of interesting. Like if you just told me he throws the slider, right?
Yes, he's got a nasty one.
Okay, yeah. So then, I mean, I think he makes sense then at 6'8". If he just had success against him too, I wasn't in the United States, so I wasn't able to watch that game or anything. But if he had success against them last time, I think that makes a lot of sense. Just with what we were talking about, the Dodgers are really really high team where like they have a really high ceiling versus a fastball slider pitcher, but at the same time, they could get kind of devastated by it as well because they have super high whiff rates on it. I think like the main 5 guys, if you look at it, have whiff rates in like the 30 and 40% on that pitch. And if this guy has a nasty one at 6'8", I definitely think he could make a lot of sense here. It's just always uncomfortable attacking the Dodgers, honestly. I think it could go both ways. Lefties for sure for the Dodgers. And then Buehler, I'm not pitching, coming off the DL 9-5 with Dave Roberts managing them.
Yeah, we'll have to look into it, but I would expect Buehler to be on somewhat of a pitch count here, just because that's just the Roberts way. He's on a pitch count even without injury. Like, that's just what Roberts does.
Yeah.
But yeah, too expensive of a price tag. Pena, I gotta say, is in play. He looked good in his last game against these guys. It was really hot that day. It's still going to be warm here, but it was really hot that day. Just kind of throwing it out there. I know the ball typically does move a bit more in the heat. But he's got a nasty slider. The issue is you're dealing with a pitch count. If the Dodgers happen to do a little bit better, they can work up his pitch count, and then if he's throwing 70 pitches in 4 innings, like 5 innings, that's all you're going to get. On top of that, you would need the Angels to hit Walker Buehler because you want to get the win. So it kind of puts you in a tough situation. 6'8" is not as great of a price as it may seem. If we got word that he was going to pitch maybe like 80, 90 pitches, I think we can go back there. But again, it's a huge risk. The Dodgers do have really strong numbers against the slider. However, they also have really high whiff rates, high swing and miss rates. They swing and miss a lot against good sliders. So Pena is a guy that did get hit a little bit in the minors, but he also had really strong strikeout upside in the minors. So I do think at 6'8" we can consider him. Just keep in mind that he doesn't seem to be able to go more than like 75 pitches. They seem to just be doing that to him. I don't know why. But if this kid can actually go 6-7 innings, like he's got mega upside. On the flip side, the Dodgers did just see this guy. Sometimes it's not so great. We've had some pitchers are just able to dominate a team no matter what. Maybe that's the case. The Dodgers did see Tyson Ross today, and they just couldn't hit his slider. So, kind of leave it at that. So the Dodgers, when you look at the profiles, it's going to say they mash sliders. And when they hit sliders, they go very far. Problem is they miss a lot. They swing and miss a lot. So take it for what you will.
You see Pujols today? 2 homers.
2 homers for Pujols. Yeah, Paxton pitched that first inning. He left with it left, and then that was it. It was just, crazy.
That's crazy. I didn't know that guy had 2 homers left in him.
Fair enough. Last game here, Cam. We've got Edwin Jackson of the Oakland Athletics visiting Madison Bumgarner of the San Francisco Giants. Total here is 7.5. The Giants minus 161 at home, 63 degrees, 77% humidity in San Francisco. Last game, what do you got?
11-4 for Bumgarner for me is just, it's too much again for kind of what we've been seeing from him. I'll have to look into him a little bit more tomorrow, but what I remember before I went on vacation, like he just doesn't really have the stuff that would make me want to pay 11-4 for him right now. Do I believe it might eventually come back? Yeah. But as of now, he doesn't really have the swinging strike stuff or anything that makes me want to pay that price tag for him. And there's going to be a lot of bats on this slate that you're going to want to pay up for. So I just don't think it makes like the right play to pay up for him at 11-4 in this spot. Although I do think the matchup for him at home against Oakland is a pretty good one. Usually lefties versus Oakland has been pretty decent, but Oakland's been pretty hot, right? I think they've won 9 out of 11 or something.
Yeah, they've been
along those lines. So, I think while a pretty good lefty versus them seems like a good matchup. I think they're just really hot right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to get to Bumgarner honestly tomorrow, and might be like a really deep high entry like tournament contrarian stack that might be like a late night hammer, just because the A's are a streaky team and they've been really hot, so you might just want to ride that wave. On the other side, like Edwin Jackson going up against the Giants. I haven't seen Edwin pitch yet. I wouldn't pitch Edwin by any means, and I don't really get excited about a lot of these Giants bats, but I would take Belt and Crawford and have confidence in those two, batting fourth and fifth at pretty fair prices.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I think Crawford's price at 3.7 is pretty awesome. I do like that price. Yeah. Edwin Jackson's been pretty decent. I don't hate it. He's not my preferred option, but I really don't hate it. He's been pretty good since coming back up. I mean, he did play Detroit once, had a monster game, but he played Cleveland twice. The first game against Cleveland, which he was home for, he pitched well, and in the game, of course, in Cleveland, he did not. So he gets a good ballpark. The Giants aren't a super intimidating offense. I think at 6-1 we can consider him, but I don't think that it's gonna be a worry because the Giants don't strike out. You're gonna want some strikeouts here, but overall he's been decent. The Giants offense has been bad. I think we can consider Edwin. I'm with you on Matt Bum, just not looking to pay up for pitcher, and even if I was, he's not the guy I'm looking to pay up for. And the A's have been just hot, man. I think that taking some of these guys are fine. This ballpark is very tough for home runs. It's a little bit better for righties, I believe. So they have a lot of those. So I think that, I'm not looking. It's hard to kind of like want to play guys against Madison Bumgarner, but at the same time, I definitely don't want to play Mad Bum. The A's have been too hot. They've been hitting lefties a lot better lately. So I'm with you there. And that's going to do it for the game-by-game breakdown. At this point, I'm going to remind everybody, if you haven't already, check us out at whitestake.com. I don't know what you're waiting for. Definitely a great time to rock with the Wise Take Nation. Come see what we're all about. We're a DFS community. We offer articles. We offer cheat sheets now that Cam is back. We do a live stream an hour and a half before lock. After we've done our research, kind of going over some of the guys that were actually on, some of the stuff we found. We do a strategy session tomorrow. This was a good week because we had the strategy session all 5 days. There was no early slate. This is the last strategy session of the week. We only do the Monday through Friday. But they've been awesome, really, really helping us out, giving our guys a super big edge. Basically do the research with you guys. We share our screens and kind of show you some of the stuff we're looking at and give you a breakdown, looking at numbers for the day. We do that about 1 p.m. Eastern. But come see what we have to offer. The expert poll has been awesome. We take a few of our guys, have them answer 8 key questions for the slate. Who's your favorite cash game pitcher, favorite tournament pitcher, all that kind of stuff. And you get like all of our not all, but they get a few of our analysts right there. You get some answers to some key questions. But it's a great thing. We have a chat that's just awesome. Members are phenomenal, just hilarious guys. Like, you got to have a good sense of humor though. You got to have some thick skin and have a good sense of humor to get in on this chat, because this chat is wild, man. These guys are insane. Cam will tell you, these guys are nuts. But obviously, no filters. But they're a great group of guys. And girls. We have a couple women members who are awesome too. So come rock with the nation. See what we're all about. $2.50, all it costs to get you in for a day. Cam, time to do some top threes, my man. Who are your top 3 pitchers tomorrow?
Let's see. I like Kingin versus the Brewers. Kind of going down, there's like 5 guys that I like, but maybe like C-Mart versus Cincy, and Herman versus Cleveland, I think. And then there's a couple like random punt options that I would play as well.
Oh yeah, man, I'm with you. Kingham, like I 2 out of 3 of those for me for sure. Kingham and Domingo, definitely 2 tournament plays that I'm into. After that, it is very tough to kind of pick a third, and I think I'm gonna lean towards. Man, yeah, you're right. It's really hard to pick a third guy. It's like it's not because like there's no options. It's because like they're all kind of mediocre. So like you don't necessarily like one more than the other. It's like, right. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like that's kind of tough. I know for sure I like those 2 guys. So I guess I already know who I'm pitching tomorrow. I guess I would have to roll with like I'll say Matt Harvey, man. Like I can't believe I'm saying it. I can't believe it. But 7-2 is a it's still kind of cheap on the. Wow. What have I become? What'll become? I'm on a podcast talking about Matt Harvey. Oh my god. Anyway, top 3 stacks, Cam. What do you got?
Let's see here. Let me scroll through some of this stuff. I like the Yankees. The Rays. And the A's maybe? I don't know. That's too contrarian, but those are just the ones I can. Those are the ones that kind of stick out.
I think I kind of like Coors. Big surprise, and I think that I like
Coors.
Right, like I kind of like Coors. I like the fact that we're kind of into the mid-tier pitchers, which will allow us to play Coors. I mean, Senzatella got bombed by Seattle. That was in Seattle. And then Bergman, I think he's got, like, okay stuff. But, I mean, like, if this guy really throws 40% sinkers, and you were saying, like, you checked his sinker doesn't move all that much. Like, this could basically be, like, an all-fastball game for the Rockies. And
no, I'm with you. I just didn't say Coors just because,
you just never do. You know? You just never do.
Yeah.
It's like usually, honestly, most of the time we're on the fade train for Coors. Like, you know, it's not often that we play them. So most of the time we do try to avoid them. And for the most part,
they put up like 20 runs a couple days ago.
They did. They had this. The Diamondbacks had Descalso and freaking Avila pitching.
Dude, and they like shut them down, didn't they?
Yeah, Avila did. Descalso gave up a home run. Avila was fucking good. He was actually really good. But yeah, ridiculous amount of
actual
runs.
Pitchers did worse than like 4 innings of whatever.
Yes, agreed. And then I guess for the third stack, I'd probably roll with Baltimore. Why not? They're cheap, right? A couple cheap guys to work in between the Coors guys. We're set, man.
I forgot I like Baltimore too.
I know. There's just so much. 15 games is a ridiculous amount of games. It really is. Dog Watch, you're going to have to now pick 3 players out of these 15 games who you think are going to hit home runs. Who's your first pick?
You're going to be here all night.
Yeah. You can pick Coors, by the way. I'm going to make that clear. You can.
All right. That's fair enough.
Machado, I'll go with Trumbo because I'm already on that game. So, you know, let's do it.
Fair enough. That's like the guy. That's when you said Orioles, then I looked at Orioles, and then I saw Machado, and I was like, I'm cool with that. Sal Perez.
I will go to Coors, and I will go with give me some Trevor Story action.
Did you just try and sneak in Coors on me?
No, I said we can go to Coors. We've been doing that. We've been going.
I thought you said we couldn't do Coors, and then I thought you just like low key just like snuck in like. Yeah, Trevor Story.
I'll pick someone else. Forget it. We've incorporated Coors because Cash kind of like said it on a situation once on our show. He was just, never mind. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna say somebody else.
You guys have gone soft on me since I left for vacation. Now we're doing home run calls with Coors Field.
It was just too funny, man. It was just too funny to see. Like I just said, like you could do Coors, and you're like, okay, yeah. And then it's like, did you just try to sneak Coors on me? I'll go with oh man, now you got me all twisted. I'll go with Sin-Shu Chu. He hits a home run, lead off the game. Let's do it.
All right, I like it. Let's do. Who do I pick? Let's do Jake Bauers.
Jake Bauers. Word up, G. Word up. I will go with. Give me, I'm going to go to Eduardo Escobar. It's a little something different. I like that. Take some Eduardo. Eduardo Escobar. How about that?
I said
How about that?
I said Jake Bauers, and then you probably looked at that game. And saw
like Jake Bauers. This is what I do, man. I'm not going to sit here scrolling all day. I mean, you know what I mean? I just look at the page right in front of me, like, who's here? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that is actually what happened. When you said Bauers, I came across him, and I was like, yeah, I could go this. He's a guy that's hit hard fastballs well lately. And that is going to do it for the Wise Take DFS podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you are watching on Facebook, give us a like and a share to support the Wise Take Nation. If you are watching us on Twitch or Twitter, give us a follow, retweet, show some love. And if you're listening to us on Podbean or iTunes, give us some 5-star reviews, help bump us up those charts. Cam, anything in closing before we get up out of here?
Not much, man. Still kind of got like that vacation leg, so gonna hit the rack very quick here and wake up tomorrow and then grind out a 15-day slate or 15-game slate before the All-Star break. But yeah, not much for me.
Not much for you. All right, Nation, you know what to do. Show us some love. Show us some love. Facebook, all that good stuff. Like I said, show us some love. So, for KamG333, for myself, the entire Wise Take Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.